Most Laravel applications don't become difficult to maintain overnight. The problem usually starts early with small architectural decisions that quietly compound over time. I'm Mark, a backend developer focused on building maintainable systems, and in this video, I want to break down why that happens. One of the fastest ways applications become difficult to maintain is controller bloat. Initially, it feels efficient. Just place the logic directly in the controller and move on. But over time, the controller slowly becomes validation layer, business workflow, query management, notification dispatcher, and response handler all at once. This that creates systems that are harder to debug, harder to test, and harder to extend safely. A great example here on my screen are two controllers from two separate projects. And the one on the left side is a preference of how a controller should be. Let's look at the logic. The logic here is simpler, shorter, just for control, but right on this other side, there's a lot of application logic in here, talking about users, what the users can do, defining roles, permissions, everything is done solely in the controller, and this is bad architecture. This is another example of another controller. So much app architecture in the controller, which is bad design. Even though you might have comments, but it's much preferable to have this one than this. Sense. Not because it sounds architecturally impressive, but because complexity compounds very quickly in backend systems. When responsibilities are isolated properly, debugging becomes easier, workflows become cleaner, and future changes become safer. That matters in every backend stack, not just Laravel. Laravel provides useful tools for reducing this complexity early. Things like form requests, reusable query scopes, service or action classes, and isolated workflows help reduce responsibility overload inside controllers. The important part is not the pattern itself, rather, the important part is understanding why the situation exists in the first place. If you look at this image and from the previous controllers I showed, you see on this side you have email, database, validation, API, HTTP requests, everything all inside the controller, all just get tangled within the controller. So fixing up a bug in this sort of application could become very difficult as the application grows, because you could be stacking up more and more parts of the application and it's growing. If you separate it, you're going to get the other side where things look much more organized. Even you, when you want to debug, go through your application, and when everything has been well adjusted, everything looks clean, you know where everything is, you know which folder to go into, you know where all the logic is. It's much better to work with that rather than having it all inside the controller, and under pressure you can't fix the bug. Duplication becomes dangerous because systems rarely stay small. Once business rules and queries start existing in multiple places, every future change becomes a consistent risk. This is how technical debt quietly grows, not through one catastrophic mistake, but through repeated short-term decisions. Something I'm realizing early is that maintainability is really about reducing operational complexity. A maintainable system is easier to understand, modify, debug, and trust under pressure. That matters long before skill or traffic become the issue. Your application can't even scale. Like before you have a lot of users using your application itself growing while you are building. Long term, without making the right decisions, it becomes complex for you to handle and manage that application. That becomes a much bigger problem rather than your application not being able to handle high traffic. Over the next few weeks, I'll be documenting the engineering decisions involved in building maintainable Laravel systems step by step. Not just feature development, but architectural reasoning, backend structure, maintainability trade-offs, and systems thinking as complexity grows. Laravel will be the primary stack, but the engineering principles apply far beyond Laravel itself. Thank you for watching.